Hello, in this video lecture I will explain the branching instructions in 8086 processor. Now basically the normal instructions, the non-branching instructions will get executed in a sequential order, whereas branching instructions are used to change the order of execution depending on either certain condition or sometimes even unconditionally. So here is that point. Branching instructions change the sequence of program execution. And there are three types of branching instructions available. The first type is jump instruction, second is subroutine call instruction, and then the third is loop instructions. Now here, the first category jump instruction, which can be either conditional or unconditional jump instructions. But in case of second category here, as that note has been written at the bottom, it supports only unconditional call and unconditional return instruction. Okay, and then the third category loop instruction, which is used for repetitive execution of certain section of the code. Okay, we will explore jump instructions first. So here, the conditional jump instructions I want to explain first. There are total 18 conditional jump instructions, and out of that first group, it contains in all 8 instructions. Out of that first 4 will be appearing on your screen, and these conditional jump instruction must be used after signed ALU operations, after signed arithmetic and logical unit operations. Now normally that signed operations, they deal with the two terminologies greater or less, and depending on that, after comparison of two numbers or even after subtraction of two numbers, here the 4 instructions which are formulated in 8086 processor, that is jump if greater. If one of the operand is greater than the second operand which is compared or subtracted, then this particular jump instruction, its condition will be true, and then that jump will take place to the address which is specified within that instruction itself. So jump if greater, it clearly means that jump if not less nor equal. So this instruction JG is having alternate mnemonic JNLE. Then the second instruction here is jump if greater or equal, is having alternate mnemonic jump if not less. Then the third instruction jump if less, having alternate mnemonic jump if not greater nor equal. And then the fourth instruction here jump if less or equal is having alternate mnemonic jump if not greater. Okay, normally such type of instruction to be used after comparison of two operand, already I stated, or after performance of subtraction. Such type of jump instructions can be used, and based on the result of comparison or subtraction here, depending on the relationship between two operands, whether those are greater or less or equal, such type of jump instructions can be written immediately after that. And if that condition is found true, then and then only that jump will take place to that non-sequential memory address. Now apart from these 4 instructions here, 4 more instructions are defined within this same category, the instructions to be used after signed ALU, and those are written just below. By using overflow flag here, jump if overflow. If overflow flag is set, then that jump will take place. And the second is jump if not overflow, JNO. If that overflow flag is reset, then that jump will take place. and two more instruction by using sign flag. Jump if sign JS. If sign flag is set to 1, then that jump will take place. Jump if not sign JNS. If sign flag is reset, then only jump will take place. So these are the 8 instructions from that conditional jump instruction which are to be used after signed ALU operations. Now on the right side, there are 4 instructions, conditional jump instructions, which are to be used after signed ALU operations, unsigned ALU operations. Okay, normally unsigned operations, they will use the terminology like say above and below. So here are 4 instructions which are stated here. Jump if above is having alternate mnemonic jump if not below nor equal. JA jump if above slash JNBE jump if not below nor equal. Then the second instruction here, jump if above or equal, is having alternate mnemonic jump if not below. So instructions are written on the next line, subsequent line here. Then the third instruction in this category will be jump if below, JB, is having alternate mnemonic jump if not above nor equal, JNAE. And then the last instruction here, that is jump if below or equal, JBE, is certainly jump if not above, JNA. You can observe it here that these conditional jump instructions, mostly those are having the alternate mnemonics. You can use any one out of 2 possible mnemonics which are written here for a particular conditional jump instruction. Then below that will be the third category of conditional jump instruction here. And this third category conditional jump instruction, they can be used either after signed ALU operation or unsigned ALU operation, both. Okay, and such type of 6 instructions are available here by using carry flag, jump if carry JC and jump if not carry. Depending on carry flag set or carry flag reset, that jump will take place. Then jump if 0 JZ and JNZ, jump if not 0. Depending on that 0 flag set or reset condition, that jump will take place. Of course, jump if 0 is having alternate mnemonic jump if equal, JE. Similarly, jump if not 0 is also having the alternate mnemonic jump if not equal, JNE. Okay, you can use them. And then the next 2 instructions, those will be based on that parity flag setting here after comparison or after subtraction. So 2 instructions here, jump if parity JP, having alternate mnemonic jump if parity E1. If parity flag is set to 1, then that jump will take place. And the last instruction here, jump if not parity, parity flag is reset, then that jump will take place. Alternate mnemonic is jump if parity odd, JPO. So these are the 18 conditional jump instructions here which can be used after comparison or after subtraction of 2 operands. And depending on whether it is a signed operation or unsigned operation, one particular jump instruction to be used here. And the third category, that can be used either after a signed operation or unsigned operations. Then here on this particular slide, that is concept of intra-segment and inter-segment jumps, that I want to explain. And this particular explanation will be in a comparative manner. So there will be 2 columns, intra-segment jump, inter-segment jump, which are shown here. Now first of all, the first point of intra-segment, it is a jump within that same code segment here. So processor will be branching within that same code segment to some non-sequential memory address. Whereas inter-segment jump on the right side, here that processor jumps to another code segment, leaving behind the earlier code segment. Then the second point here, in case of intra-segment jump, as it is a jump within that same code segment, here it is performed just by loading the contents or offset address into instruction pointer register. Okay, so you can observe that 16-bit offset address of that corresponding jump location will be loaded to instruction pointer, and subsequently processor branches to that non-sequential address, offset address within that same code segment. You can observe that contents of code segment register are not changed at all because it is a jump within that same code segment. Whereas if you go for inter-segment jump here, this inter-segment jump is performed by loading offset address into instruction pointer register and also a new segment register value, a code segment register value, which is called as a segment identifier. Okay, it clearly means that in case of inter-segment jump here, it loads both the register, that is CS register and IP register, with new values. CS register is loaded with a new segment identifier, 16-bit value, new value, and IP register will be loaded offset within that new segment where that jump is to take place. Okay, as it is jumping to another code segment here, definitely code segment register should be loaded with a new value that is called as a segment identifier, and within that new segment here, at what offset location control is to be transferred should be loaded into IP register. Then the next point, below that intra-segment here, there can be two categories of intra-segment jump. It can be near jump or it can be a short jump, which I want to explain again in a comparative manner after completion of this. Whereas inter-segment jump here, it is also called as a far jump, which is written there, third point. And then towards the bottom of this particular slide, the examples. The example of that intra-segment jump here, the first example JMP MEMN. This is the offset which is given by label MEMN. This offset will be loaded to instruction pointer register, IP register, and jump will take place. Now this first example here on the left side is the example of near jump. Whereas the bottom example, the second example, jump short MEM, here that label MEM is a short label. I want to explain what I mean by short jump, short within say 5 minutes from here. Okay, so this short label will be loaded to instruction pointer and subsequently a short jump will take place. Now, the example of that inter-segment jump on the right side. Now here is that inter-segment jump. Jump D word, that is double word, PTR means pointer, and inside square bracket BX. It clearly means that double word which is pointed by memory locations beginning with the contents of BX. Okay, out of that first word is to be loaded to instruction pointer register. This word is read from memory location BX and BX plus 1. And second word, out of that double word, second word is to be loaded into CS register, which is a new segment identifier. And the second word is to be taken from BX plus 2 and BX plus 3 location here. So like that, first word will be new value of IP and second word will be new value of CS register, And whenever these two words are taken from four consecutive offset location bx, bx plus 1, bx plus 2 and bx plus 3, new values loaded. Subsequently, processor's control will be transferred to that far target address outside that particular segment here. So processor will branch to that another code segment as per the new value of CS register, and within that particular code segment here at an offset which is given by instruction pointer IP register, processor's control will be transferred there. So this is the example of that inter-segment jump here. So whenever question comes, you need to explain like this. Now on the subsequent slide here, I want to explain that concept of near and short jumps. Again, in a comparative manner, I want to explain. There are two columns. First column is near jump, second column is short jump. In case of near jump here, it uses 16-bit signed offset as has been specified here. In case of short jump here, it uses effective 8 bits of signed offset. Okay, and because of that 16 bits of signed offset here, the entire code segment will be covered within that near jump here. 16-bit signed offset, so that range of that corresponding jump will be from minus 32 kilobyte to plus 32 kilobyte. It is a signed offset. It will cover both. Some previous memory location up to minus 32 kilobyte. Some ahead memory location up to 32 kilobyte, covering that entire range of 64 kilobyte here. So in case of near jump here, it covers that entire code segment of 64 kilobyte here. Whereas in case of short jump here, it uses effective 8 bits of signed offset. That's why range or the displacement, which will be from minus 128 to plus 127 locations. Minus 128 to plus 127 bytes. It clearly means that whenever it is jumping backward location, some previous location, it can go up to maximum 128 locations behind compared to the current contents of instruction pointer. And whenever it is jumping to some ahead memory location, it can jump to 127 locations ahead compared to the current contents of instruction pointer. Okay, so this is about that short jump here. Okay, what I have just now explained is written here at the bottom. That range or displacement which has been specified, it is a positive range or positive displacement for forward jump or ahead jumps, and it is a negative displacement for backward jump or behind jumps. It is applicable to both near as well as short jumps. Okay, so whenever we say that displacement or processor is taking a jump to a location of minus 15 kilobyte, it clearly means that it is a near jump, and it is taking a backward or behind jump to minus 15 kilobytes with reference to the current contents of instruction pointer. So this is in case of backward jump or behind jumps. Similarly, in case of ahead jump or forward jump, okay, in case of short jump, if it is certain to the programmer that the jump which will be taking place here will be within say 128 locations behind or 127 locations ahead to the current contents of instruction pointer, then user can put up instruction like say JMP, unconditional jump, a label short, and then that labeled address can be specified, just like which I have explained in earlier slide. Okay, it means that user can put up that label short label whenever that user is sure that the displacement will be within the range of minus 128 to plus 127 locations. And with such type of short label here, my instruction gets optimized. It requires a one memory location less to store that jump instruction. That is the advantage. Now the next category of instructions which I want to explain within that branching, that is subroutine call instructions. Now here are two types of subroutine call instruction. One is intra-segment call and second is inter-segment call. Let us see here. The intra-segment call, also called as a near call. This near call calls that subroutine which is located within that same code segment of that of main program. Obviously, whenever such type of subroutine is called, which is within that same code segment, a return address is nothing but the contents of only instruction pointer. Why? Because there is no change of that corresponding code segment here. Okay, code segment remains one and the same. That's why CS register will not be forming the part of that return address here. Only instruction pointer will be forming that part of that return address. Now the next category is the inter-segment call, which is called as a far call. It calls a subroutine from the another code segment. It means that my earlier code segment where my main program is present, from here we are calling a subroutine which is located in another code segment here. Okay, in this situation, effectively processor will be leaving earlier code segment of main program and it is going to execute a subroutine which is located in another code segment here. Okay, it means that effectively processor calls a subroutine which is present or which is written in another code segment. Obviously, return address will be both. As the code segment is switching, so CS register must be a part of that return address. And within that another code segment here, the offset location will be given by instruction pointer. That's why second point which is written at the bottom, return address is both the contents of CS and IP register contents. Now here are the examples of intra and inter-segment call instructions. Now the first example that is appearing on your screen is intra-segment call instruction. Call MEMN. MEMN is nothing but the labeled address of that corresponding subroutine here. Subroutine's beginning address. And then on the right side, it calls intra-segment subroutine defined by label MEMN. And you can observe it just below that two steps are shown in red color. Out of that first step is copying that return address onto stack. We know that in case of any processor, Intel's processor, whenever subroutine is called, the contents of that instruction pointer is nothing but the return address. And we know that return address, that is contents of instruction pointer in 8086 processor is 16-bit. That's why two stack top locations which are decremented by one each will be used to copy that particular return address. So you can observe that contents of IP register 16-bit will be copied to stack segment. And inside that square bracket, two offset locations are shown there which are nothing but two decremented stack locations here, SP-1 colon SP-2. Here that return address which are nothing but the contents of IP register will be copied. And then subsequently the label, the starting address of that subroutine which is given by MEMN is loaded to instruction pointer. The offset MEMN is loaded to instruction pointer and subsequently processor will go to execute that subroutine. And this subroutine is within that same code segment here. Then the second example which I want to show it here just below, call double word pointer inside square bracket di. Whenever such type of wording comes within that call instruction here, double word pointer and memory location, indirect memory location, it is certainly a case of inter-segment call instruction. It calls inter-segment subroutine. And whenever inter-segment subroutine is to be called here, in that case return address will be both the contents of earlier code segment register, defining the earlier code segment where my main program is present, earlier instruction pointer register, IP register. Okay, so here the steps of operations which are shown on the right side. First two steps here, code segment register, earlier code segment register contents are copied to stack by decrementing stack pointer twice here. So first step whatever shown there, here that contents of code segment register 16-bit value, earlier 16-bit value will be copied to stack segment at two decremented stack locations here, SP-1, SP-2, which are shown inside square bracket. And subsequent step here, the earlier contents of instruction pointer will be copied to next two decremented offset locations within that same code segment here, and that is SP-3 and SP-4. It clearly means that stack pointer will be decremented 4 times and then the return address will be copied onto that corresponding stack here. And these are the first two steps, copying that return address, which are nothing but the contents of CS register and IP register of earlier segment. And then in the next two steps here, double word pointer inside square bracket di, which is given in that corresponding instruction. From here, the first word which is taken from di and di plus 1. First word taken from di and di plus 1, this word will be copied to IP register, new value, copied to IP. And the subsequent word, second word which is taken from two more offset locations here, di plus 2, di plus 3. Second word is copied to CS register here. So new identifier is now copied to code segment register. And that way, by using these two last steps here, processor's control will be transferred from earlier code segment. It will go to new code segment at the offset given by this new value of instruction pointer. Here my subroutine start, and this particular subroutine is inter-segment subroutine, and their execution will be started. So these are the examples of intra-segment and inter-segment call instructions here. Now the detailed execution, how that particular intra-segment subroutine call instruction gets executed, some details I want to give it here. One example is called 2000. Instead of using a label, I am using here direct offset address 2000. So here is that corresponding example. The main program, which is shown on the left side, getting executed in a sequential manner till processor executes a call instruction call 2000. And whenever this call 2000 instruction gets encountered, subsequent to that call instruction within that main program, the address of the next instruction will be copied onto stack. And this address is nothing but the return address clearly shown there. And once that return address is copied onto stack, then subsequently the subroutine starting address, in this case 2000, will be loaded to instruction pointer. This is the new value of IP. And once this 2000 is loaded to instruction pointer, subsequently processor will branch to this address where my subroutine starts. And from this starting address of this subroutine at 2000, subroutine will get executed just like a normal program in a sequential order again. And towards the bottom of that subroutine there is a return instruction, and because of that return instruction, the return address which was copied onto stack earlier, that will be retrieved and that will be once again loaded to instruction pointer, and subsequently processor returns back to the main program just below the call instruction. And then the remaining part of this main program will get executed in a normal order, in a sequential order. So this is the way that intra-segment subroutine call instruction gets executed. Let us see here those steps in a brief manner, one by one. So here are the steps in call and return sequence. Upon execution of a call instruction, processor copies that return address onto stack. Return address is nothing but the address immediately after that call instruction within that main program. So this particular step has been written here. Then the second step which is appearing on your screen, that 16-bit offset address of that subroutine, beginning address of that subroutine will be loaded to instruction pointer register, new value copied to IP register. And once that new value is copied to IP register, processor subsequently goes to execute that particular subroutine. Then in this subsequent step here, subroutine gets executed like a normal program in a sequential order. And then in the next step, fifth step here, upon execution of the return instruction at the end of that subroutine, processor retrieves a return address from the stack which was copied onto stack in step number 1, which is shown above. And then in the next step, subsequent step here, the 16-bit return address, return offset address, that will be once again loaded to instruction pointer, and immediately processor will return back to the mainline program here. So this is my last step which I have shown at the bottom. So this is the last step, 7th step here. Processor returns back to execute the remaining part of that main program. So that way processor transferred its control to execute that subroutine. Upon complete execution of the subroutine, it has returned back to the main program just below that call instruction, and then the remaining part of that main program got executed. So this is the proper call and return sequence in case of any Intel's microprocessor. Then towards the end of this particular lecture here is about the loop instructions. Now basically loop instructions are used for repetitive execution of a part of that corresponding program, corresponding code. It is basically used for the looping purpose, for iterative purpose. So let us see here their corresponding loop instructions. There are total 4 loop instructions possible. Out of that, basic loop instruction is appearing on your screen, loop, L-O-O-P, next. Next is the label. What happens here? That operation is written on the right side. Whenever loop instruction gets executed here, first of all that counter is decremented by 1, Cx minus 1 copied to Cx. And then in this subsequent step here, if that counter is not reached to 0, if that Cx is not equal to 0, then and then only the offset address given by this label next will be loaded to instruction pointer. Okay, and then that repetition of that same set of instruction code that takes place. It means that effectively this loop instruction, loop next instruction, is a combination of 2 instructions here. First instruction is a decrement, DEC CX, decrement CX, and subsequent instruction will be jump if not 0 next, the label. It means that if at all I don't want to use that loop instruction, the basic loop instruction which is shown here, then I can certainly use two instructions instead, and these two instructions will be decrement Cx and jump if not 0 next. Okay, just to optimize that code of 8086 processor, this loop instruction has been designed. Then a slight variation within that loop instruction here is loop 0, loop Z next. It is a slight modification, and one more condition has been imposed within that loop while 0 instruction here. The operational steps are shown on the right side. First of all, counter decremented as usual. There is no difference. Cx minus 1 copied to Cx. Then the basic condition, if that Cx is not equal to 0, this will also prevail as it is. But one additional condition which has been written thereafter, and 0 flag is set to 1, ZF is equal to 1. It means that two conditions are now tested here. Counter not reached to 0, counter is not equal to 0, and 0 flag is set to 1. Then and then only this particular offset location next will be loaded to instruction pointer, and then that repetition of that code, repetitive execution of that code will be carried out. One alternate mnemonic is available for this loop while 0 here, that is loop while equal, which is not written here, but it is available. LOOPZ is having alternate mnemonic LOOPE equal. Then the next loop instruction here, loop while not 0, loop NZ next. Alternate mnemonic is loop while not equal, loop NE not equal, and then the label next here. In case of this third loop variation, instruction variation, that basic function remains same. First of all, counter is decremented by 1, Cx minus 1 copied to Cx. Then the condition if Cx is not equal to 0 prevails, it is present. But the second condition, and 0 flag is a reset condition, 0 flag is 0. Then and then only this offset label next will be loaded to instruction pointer, and then the repetition of that part of that code will be carried out. Okay, second and third loop variation which are shown above will be having one additional condition here, 0 flag set condition or 0 flag reset condition. The basic loop instruction is the only first one, where only counter reaching to 0 will be tested. Then the last instruction at the bottom, the fourth instruction at the bottom is JCXZ next. It is basically jump if CX register 0. JCXZ, its formulation is jump if Cx equal to 0, which is written in the same manner on the right side in my explanation. If that Cx is equal to 0, then and then only jump will take place by loading that offset address given by the label next into instruction pointer. Okay, so this is all about that loop instruction here. Loop instructions are basically used for optimization of that corresponding code. I hope that you understood all those branching instructions in a better manner.